I had once Kuba Ajahn, when he was asked about 5 kilesas, he was saying you should not fight the kilesas, because for fighting the kilesas you need a weapon, and you don't have Samadhi now. When you don't have Samadhi, you have nothing where you can fight the kilesas with. Because when you have Samadhi, then you're getting this ease and pleasure, and then it's not easy. Then it's easy to to handle the kilesas if you don't. But if you don't have this, then the kilesas are the only pleasure you get, maybe, then what you're fighting,
Yeah, how does that kind of talk affect you? Then you feel you've got to get Samadhi. At least I do, the Kubajan says that. It's not wrong, and then, if I feel I'm someone whose Samadhi isn't good enough to fight the kilesas, that's all a creation of the self, So like you have this, which comes first, Samadhi or Panya or Samadhi? And people are different. So some people are good at Samadhi and others aren't. Like I found, because I found I can reflect on things, then, where I was always trying to get Samadhi out of ignorance, me trying to get jhanas, and so there was always this kind of intense desire to get something, and then when, sometimes I'd get these high states, but then they'd drop away, but it was still ignorance operating in the mind. And where I found my personal experience was just reflecting on suffering, the Noble Truths, because I could do this. Because at first, I was in a situation where I had, this very confusing situation to be in. And then you're enjoying all the time doing these various chores, and the Samadhi I could get depended on controlling everything, like sensory deprivation or lack of stimulation of the senses, and so and that's what I wasn't getting there at Wonderful, but. You're always doing something, and then so I couldn't figure out, how, I thought I had to get away to get the Samadhi first, but then I began to figure it out, what I'm doing. And then also how we translate that word Samadhi. It's like an attainment. Or is it just natural? You need to open. Because there's, like samatha is where you focus on one thing and shut everything out. And then with vipassana, it's more like you're using Samadhi, which is opening. So the one thing becomes the whole, the whole moment, not the object, the one object that you focus on and reject everything else. And that's more like the intuitive practice. So, people have criticized me because they think, that you've got to get the Samadhi first and to do the other. But Ajahn Chah didn't teach that to me. And this is what I picked up from Luang Cha. And it works for me. And like some people say, well, you've got to get Samadhi first. before you can, because they think that Ajahn Sumedho has a high level of Samadhi already, so he can do this. And so, you can kind of idolize me, thinking I'm speaking from a very high place, and I've got this wonderful Samadhi, so I can really, know the Four Noble Truths in three aspects and so forth. But it's not like that. It's not that, what I have ability is awareness, and that it has developed, and the samadhi then is from that. Is it one pointed on an object or one on the whole? And so this is like the point that excludes everything, or the point that includes. So there's this. One can mean everything, wholeness, or one can mean one object. And so, like the Samadhi practice, you just point at the one object that excludes, and then you get a kind of samadhi from that, or the whole, the samadhi, which is awareness of the whole in the present moment, which isn't exclusive, because everything fits in it, good, bad, right, wrong. But it's the whole rather than the object that you're aware of, and this is what intuition allows us to do, where the the objects of concentration for samatha are until you get into the immeasurables like space consciousness, nothingness, and neither perception nor non-perception. But then we tend to elevate these to high levels of concentration. So then you get first John, second, third, fourth John, then you go into space consciousness, nothingness, and neither perception. That's the thinking mind that tends to you can only have one thought in one moment. You can't think two thoughts at the same moment. Because thinking is like that. You can't think two thoughts in the same moment. You've got this thought and that thought. But with intuitive awareness, you're aware of thinking. So it includes thinking, but it's not thinking. It's awareness of thinking. And so this gives you this broad spectrum where when you're caught in one thing, and then because sankharas are like that, you can go from one to the next, and they follow in tandem. You have A, B, C, D. You have G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T. And you can't have A and B at the same moment. You can't think A and B at the same thought moment. It's common sense, isn't it? But when you with awareness, then the whole alphabet can appear in your consciousness. So it includes and the thinking, the emotion of the body, the breathing, the memory, whatever is present now. And so, like Ajahn Chah, I remember at Hampstead, when we first went to England, in Hampstead in London, one day a lot of kind of hippies came to the vihara, and they were asking Ajahn Chah questions, and he was talking about panya and mindfulness to these kind of degenerate-looking hippies, and there were some Thai people there at the time. And when the hippies left, they said, why are you teaching panya to these people? They don't, they're not moral, they have no sila, and why are you teaching that to them? And his reply was, they're not interested in sila, so I'm teaching them what they're interested in. And then I eventually get to sila, so, you've got to have sila, dana, sila, panya, you've got to sila, samadhi, panya. That's how the thinking mind works, in this first and second, third. But what I was saying, look, you've got to meet people where they're at. If you're teaching sila to somebody who doesn't have any perception of that, but they're interested in panya, then you approach from where they're at, and then the thing will come together. Where the kind of purist will think, I'm not going to teach any of these hippies until they keep the 5 precepts. I know people, the monks that do that, I'm not going to teach them anything until they...
Well, there's an example of teaching from Panya and not Sila. I don't know who it was, but there was a nun, I don't know if it was Chinese or Tibetan, but she got raped by, she was apparently quite a tame, but she got raped by three men, and she apparently was able to keep equanimity through the whole thing, but as soon as the rape stopped, she started giving them a Dhamma teaching, to the point that they realised it was something quite special, and regret came up in their mind, and they ended up becoming her students. So I mean, the Sila definitely wasn't there, but the Panya actually inspired them towards that.
Because you're, like with intuitive awareness, you're reaching, it's because we share the same consciousness. It's the same for all of us, consciousness. And when you speak from that empty space, then you're, it's not just language anymore. It's coming, from pure wisdom, rather, and that can affect people in a way that they don't even understand. It awakens people. It's not, where if you're just being moralistic and saying, you shouldn't, I'll never forgive you for raping me, and we understand that. and seeking revenge, I understand revenge, and so forth. It's not something out of my experience of life, but also you're just, by operating always from this kind of judgmental position, you're just enforcing the fears and the ego. Like if you say, you're a rapist, you're a bad man, then that reinforces already that person's sense of being that type of person. You see, from what you say, she's able to come from a wisdom level that could reach them in a different, that wasn't reinforcing their evil tendencies, and maybe putting them in perspective for them, and see, where they could actually see the bad result of doing those kind of things. When you contemplate, that we're all connected. All creation is connected to consciousness. It's a different way of looking at life. I mean, there's this sense of, separate individual consciousness. Because even the ants or the mosquitoes or everything's in the trees. Everything is part of this. Is whole. Is complete in this realm. It's all the forms, the shapes. We have different, it's interesting, form, like the human form. You have a Buddha Rupa, you have a human form for Buddha Rupa. The human form is this is where this Buddha ability, this ability to awaken to reality, to ultimate reality, is possible within the human form. That includes all human beings. And then the dog has dog's form, and so even though the consciousness is the same, they always act like dogs, not like humans. And I don't think dogs are reflective like this, have the ability to observe themselves. Same with mosquitoes, or life is like this. The forms and space, the nama rupa, and then and consciousness includes nama rupa, and rupa determines the species. Why do birds migrate to South Africa from northern Canada when they have no one of those machines you have now to direct you?
GPS.
How do they know where South Africa is? And it's a part of the species, the form, the karma of that species. It's innate in their genetic system, and so it operates. Why do seals and whales act like that, or monkeys, or all these different creatures, fish and whatnot? Because the forms are different. Consciousness is the same. So then, I used to, in England, people would want me to sprinkle holy water on them. And Rinpoche never really liked that practice here. But in England, of course, the Thais like it, and also English people like it. So, and so I started doing it. And of course, I did it just kind of I'll do it, because people seem to appreciate it. And so I was doing it just out of a sense of kindness and duty, but I didn't have any feeling for it, and sometimes, I didn't want to be bothered. But then as I started contemplating it, I was contemplating you're melting this candle, wax into the water, chanting Pali, and so you got the fire and the wax, the water, the air, the elements. You're chanting these Pali scriptures, Pali suttas, and then if I just in a state of I'm doing this just perfunctorily, what is it? You're supposed to wax the water and get it over with, chant the scripture and sprinkle it. Is one way, or then I realized if I empty my mind of thinking and views, just the Jitwan, so I tune into that and then melt this wax into the water, and I can chant all at the same time. Then I feel, that it's somehow opening the people that are being blessed with this water is, you're reaching it. It's a ceremony, and how they receive something's up to them. But from this point where I'm actually performing the ceremony, then I can do this in emptiness, and then it's a real blessing, because at that moment it's not a personal thing. It's not just a thing you're doing because you feel you have to. You see, so you're actually tuning in. It gives you opportunity in ceremony like that to kind of go in this emptiness. You're including the consciousness is inclusive, unitive, rather than separative, divisive. And then I can enjoy doing it because it's coming. You realize it's a skill. It's not just one of those things you have to do as a monk. And then you think it's better to do things like that than just chit chat, gossip about the English weather or how awful the government is. You see what I mean? It's really a different way of like a consciousness that includes everything, rather than this. Because our problems are all from the total belief that we're separate individuals, kind of on a permanent basis. And so there's always this fear and self-consciousness and anxiety around us, because this separateness, it creates this tension of fear. And if you so fear is this realm is a realm of fear, actually. It's about survival, and we're all going to these forms are all going to die anyway, so we fear of death. So what do we do? How can we resolve all this within these kind of forms? And this is where the Buddha's teaching is the one that really helps us to get to that, to recognize that point where we transcend birth and death. We're outside that through this awareness. So it's like the deathless realm. Amaravati named the monastery in England, Deathless Realm, because in the 80s there was so much fear of the war. And nobody ever talked about deathlessness. They talked about dying in a nuclear holocaust and things like that. But, so they're kind of horrid images of dying. But deathlessness was not part of the nobody understood that and didn't even know what it meant. But, I thought, what I can do is just plant this seed in their minds, present an opportunity and to plant the seed. So even the name was chosen because I could see I wanted that to, it's a kind of beautiful word in itself, but also it has its resonance in people's consciousness. Even though, they don't understand what that is. The suggestion, and that's what you want. You don't want to have, you're planting the suggestion. It's like a seed. And then whether it grows into a beautiful flower or not, something else. But at least I've planted the seed. But also, like in the samana life, I found the gratitude and contentment enough samadhi. It's like it's because it isn't personal. It's not based on ego. Like the contentment with the requisites and gratitude then as a samana, you have a level of samadhi that comes through that. Where if there's always discontentment, desire to get something you don't have, then you never have contentment. So if you're always trying to get samadhi, then you're not going to be content unless you get what you want. But with the and then you're not content because you can't keep it. So you have to always keep trying to get it back, and then oftentimes they come, through not through wisdom but through desire, and that's untrustworthy. Where the Buddha established this in this way to create this sense of like a samana, whatever, depending on the kindness of others for survival. That's putting yourself out on a limb, isn't it? I mean, you're giving up your right. We have our right to have money. It's our right to hold money and have an active sex life, and to, it's our right to not live under all this Vinaya stuff, but to assert ourselves, be free, and go where we want, not always have to, ask permission or do this or that. It's our right, human rights. And so this is, and then we give all that up to live in this way, where you give up your rights and you have these duties to perform. So you've got the Vinaya duty, junior, senior, junior, and then but that makes life simple, because if we're just asserting our rights all the time, we're never going to be content. We're never going to be happy, because we're always thinking about ourselves, and if somebody doesn't, kind of stops us or challenges us, we have to assert ourselves and show them, show them my rights and try to conquer them, maybe. It doesn't lead to gratitude or contentment. That's not a foundation just for misery. It's foundation for suffering. So this like the samana life is based on like contentment with little. So you've got 4 requisites, and on Dhamma and Vinaya. So Vinaya is a structured agreement of behavior for us, which is based on duties to each other, and it's based on not on it's based on seniority, not on social status. So it's a very we come into the Sangha, even if you're the king of Thailand, your status is junior monk, to maybe the Sangha who's from Isan village. But so it's not about who's highly attained and who isn't. It's about just a totally impersonal structure of who's been ordained longer, or who was ordained first. It's impersonal, isn't it? And then who this monk is an arhat, this one he's only been a monk 1 year, but this monk 30 years and he's still Butuchana, not nowhere. That's and so I'm going to bow to the 1 year arhat, or to the 30-year Butuchana. It's not a choice, is it? It's you bow to the senior one. So this makes life easy. It's not about personal feelings towards people. And it's structure, impersonal structure. and that makes our life easy. Not, we don't have to just follow our particular likes and dislikes towards the monks in the Sangha. And then this structure then creates a sense of, like you contemplate the Buddha and like Ajahn, teachers that that have helped you. You have the sense of Gatanyugataveti and the contentment. This gives you foundation for Samadhi. But trying to get Samadhi, I've not found it. For me, it doesn't work trying to get it. Because it's from the desire realm. Now, in Thailand, where you've got a lot of faith in the teacher, and you're kind of culturally Buddhist, I think Samadhi's easier for them because they tend to not question or doubt the teacher. And the teacher says, do this and then do that, and you do it. But for most of us, we don't have that. If the teacher says, do this first, why? This other teacher told me to do it another way, and I'm not sure about it. And it creates doubts, vicikiccha. And that, for jhanas, vicikiccha is the one that destroys the concentration. And we're, most of us are critical doubters. So, if the teacher tells us what to do, we still doubt, and we doubt ourselves. We doubt our ability to do it. If we don't get what we think we should. So it's that's like the faith structure or the panya, ceto vimutti, panya vimutti. And you don't have to whip the kilesas, you just recognize them. They're sankharas like any other. They arise. The relationship to them. And then the level of gratitude and contentment give you a much more sense of being able to bear with the presence of kilesas, to allow them to cease, rather than as soon as they arise you want to get rid of them. But the actual structure of behavior is based on doing good, refraining from doing bad. So we're going to have both impulses to do good and bad, and they're all sankharas. They teach you, bad sankharas teach you about sankharas, as the good ones do. But in terms of action and speech, then our active side is to do good, and passive side to refrain from doing the bad ones. But the attention includes both. The samasati includes both the good and the bad. And then you can discern, and then you have the insight to act. If you're going to act on the good ones, it's coming from wisdom rather than from personal identity or personal desire. And refraining from bad ones isn't guilty because you have bad sankharas in your mind. It's just recognizing they are what they are. They're sankharas. And then the doing good and refraining from doing that makes our life one that is beneficial to, makes for a good life, happy life, and one that benefits the society. We're creating our presence in the society is benefiting the society. So I think